Welcome to EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. This podcast is about all things production for the people in front of the camera or behind the camera. Let's join Reggie right now for the discussion.
Continue my conversation with Anthony Luckett. If you didn't see the last episode, I suggest you go watch it, but he's a filmmaker, writer, screenwriter, professor, camera operator, because I've seen you on camera. What I'd like to get into is you and I have worked together, and we have been in a position where I have directed you. Mm-hmm. You know my style. I can't say it changed, but when I was younger, I was kind of under the gun. Mm-hmm. So my directing style, I would say that the training and the production, when you get to the production, was good, but my style was a little interesting, is the word I use.
Okay.
So and remember, you can't say anything bad about it.
Okay.
So your perception of me as a director over the years, what do you have I improved? Is it like
Yeah, it's so interesting. I actually believe that you have changed, and I believe that you've improved. I believe that you have become less under the gun, if you want to use that terminology.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, mm-hmm. when there was one time when I was running camera for you. One thing I'll say this story because it's a really interesting story, but there was one time when I was running camera for you, and you were just like, camera four, focus, camera four, get rid of that empty, camera four. And then I was like, man, I must have had a really bad day. Mm-hmm. But then after I came back into the control room, you were like, great job. I was like, wait, you remember I was on camera 4, right?
Well, let's see. My thing is, if you try. Now, I have worked with directors who really laid back. Mm-hmm. Do this oh no, that's not right. Oh man, okay, well we'll do, Mm-hmm. And I worked with some that were like really volatile, and they were cussing on camera, and all this stuff. But the thing about it was, when I was learning, the directors said, "Good job, everybody," mm-hmm. because you got the job done. Yeah, I did one. Okay, I'll tell you one. It was figure skating, and I'll never run camera for figure skating ever again, because figure skating is, because they're moving pretty fast, so you're zooming in, zooming out, focusing and framing all at the same time, and it was like, zoom in, no, tune up, no, focus, no, zoom out, and I couldn't get anybody else to run the camera, and I thought, man, and I thought I butchered it, and she went, oh no, you were fine. Mm-hmm. So I understand that. The thing is, in the heat of the moment of directing, mm-hmm. whether you're a camera operator, audio, director, whatever, you want to put your best, you want to present the best, mm-hmm. the best audio, the best camera shot, the best whatever. And so it does get intense. And production is not for everybody. Even though those of us who do it, we have fun. Mm-hmm. But it's really intense. And one of the things that I have noticed on every crew is a lot of joke telling, even during production, because you're trying to get the pressure off.
Right.
So what happened with you was, I was telling you focus, whatever, but you'd focus and I could take the shot.
Right.
So, but like we've done plays and weddings and, Mm-hmm. I was talking to somebody, and I asked people in past episodes, who was your influence, or who did you look up to? So even as a whether it's a professor or filmmaker, like you say, you like Spike Lee in the last episode, but who do you look up to, to make you, get that fire going? It's like, I want to do that, So, and I know I kind of jumped the subject for a second. I'm coming back to the directing in a second, but
Okay.
I want to know, who was it? Because there had to be somebody that you saw, or, a style or something.
You mean as far as for TV or for film?
Yes. Either one.
Yeah.
Other than me.
Well, one thing too is when I didn't mention in the last episode, but even between when I first graduated, I did have a job at a production company. Well, it was more of a cable company, but we did production.
Right.
And so I really, even though I started off as the playback operator, like back then we had to manually put the tapes in the deck, and now everything's all digital and unautomated. But back then I would have to, it's about 3:00. Let me put this in and get it set up. But then at the same time, working there, I got a chance to help out on productions. And even with that, I advanced, because what got me, I'm kind of jumping now, but what got me into being able to teach was I ended up becoming an access coordinator. I started off in playbacks, and I was helping with productions, and then I ended up being an access coordinator where I taught the residents of Dearborn Heights how to produce TV shows. But now going back to your question, one of the people, this guy, I'm not even sure if he's still around. His name is Craig Welcomebach. It's so funny because his name is close to Welcome Back, but it's like Welcomebach. I think it's like German maybe, but
might mean welcome back. Anyway.
But I used to watch him direct, because he had this interesting style. And so even when I was just on crew, where I was maybe running camera, sometimes I would run sound, or even if we did a football game, I would do the replays, things like that. But I would watch his style, and he had this really cool style of directing. And it was really interesting how he was able to get so much out of the production without really having to be too exuberant. Like you said, there's a common approach, and so that was more his approach. And then I would even say that when it came to, of course, at our church, when it came to me directing, I take a little bit from you and a little bit from Willie Bell. And so I'm more or less, I like your style when it comes to like the shots and the framing. And then I like with Willie, even though I'm not as like out there when Willie, he gets like some out there shots. I'm not saying they're bad, but
no, I understand. Yeah.
He gets some out there shots. So I'm not that far, I'm not going to go that deep. But I like your style. I like both your style and both Willie's style. And so when it comes to me, whenever I direct, I put those two styles together, because there's I give a good example. You like a lot of like static shots. You like a lot of like cuts where you have the shot frame. Willie likes a lot of zooms. And so to me, every time he takes a shot, there's a zoom there. And then a lot of times, and you do it sometimes too, but mostly your shots is static.
Right, yeah.
Ready one, take one, ready two, take two. And so I like that blend. And so whenever I do direct, it is a blend of both your styles.
Yeah.
So I would say that to a certain extent, both of you have influenced me when it comes to like TV and directing for TV. When it comes to directing for film, I would say, I mentioned it in the last episode, but David Fincher is probably like the quintessential director for me.
What about Martin Scorsese?
I love Scorsese. Scorsese is great. Has a wonderful style. I love it. I mean, I love The Departed is one of my all-time favorite films. So he's good. He's good. But I think the difference with him and David Fincher is that darkness. And like we talked about with Beautiful,
Yeah.
I like that darkness, those themes, those shadows.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so let's talk films. Now, what about now Alien? I'm talking about the very first one, the horror movie Alien.
Yeah, with Ripley. Yep.
Now, it's kind of dark. Well, it's dark, but it's dark. But then it's a horror movie also. So now, what do you think of his style?
I love his style as well. Yeah, Ridley Scott is. I love his style. I mean, he was before David Fincher, so he's maybe if you ever ask David Fincher who influenced you, he might say
Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
I love his style as well. And I remember with him with the Blade Runner film.
Yeah.
I love how Blade Runner was shot. And how that looks with the whole futuristic film noir. That's probably when it comes to like classic styles.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. I love film noir because I kind of like that because it gives you depth. I think depth is really the key for me.
Yeah.
I don't like looking at anything flat, but I want those shadows give you depth.
Oh yeah, you know? Definitely.
And so even with David Fincher, he might even take out some of the color, and taking out some of the color gives it this look.
Yeah.
You know, so and like you're it's good to mention that because as a director, you're not just trying to get. I used to tell my students this too. You're not just trying to get a shot, but you need to get a style. And so you know, you might have students that. I also teach some film courses as well at U of M, where they have to, you know, create a short film or a documentary. But even with that, I don't want them to just point the camera and shoot.
Right.
But tell me what is in this shot. What does this shot mean to you? You know, why this angle? And you need to understand that when you are creating. You know, and even when it comes to like directing television or directing a service, you know, you need to be able to understand why.
Right.
And that's your style.
Yeah.
There's always
there's a why. Why did I take a zoom?
Exactly. There's always a why to it when it comes to you. And I love that about your directing. And so, and even with Willie, sometimes his why might be to be creative, but there's still a why,
right.
You know, other than, you know, as opposed to just shooting a shot or just getting a shot, you know, not really caring about the framing, but just having the shot because you need a shot here.
Well, I watched an interview with Bruce Lee, and I forgot what the question was, but his answer was he always likes to be like water. Water takes the form of whatever cup or bottle or whatever you put it in, and he likes to flow like water. And my directing style, I've tried to do that, like at the church that we do. I'm more now when it comes to music. I do like to cut fast. That's when I call my playtime. But when it gets to the message, my opinion is the message, whether it's preaching or a class or whatever, the message doesn't need my creativity. My job is to help the speaker get their point across to who's ever watching it.
Right.
Now, excuse me, it's got to be more than just a talking head because then people fall asleep or you lose their interest. So you got to kind of stimulate them visually, but you have to know when, like to take a head to toe shot or a wide shot, that kind of thing.
Right.
But I did a job for a company called Premiere, and it was basically person stand there. It was going to be a video that starts playing, and we bring the video in and like that. And I thought, well, let's make this creative. And I was changing shots, and I was, like there was interviews, and I was shooting some over the shoulder stuff and things like that.
Right.
And I made it more interesting because it lended itself to that, but it didn't take away from the message.
Right.
So first of all, my directing style is not to take away from whatever you're watching. Like I remember watching a church service one time. This is when I first started directing, and the camera was here, shooting the speaker, and it just panned all the way around, all the way 360 degrees, and I thought this director missed the point.
Right.
He's trying to show how creative he is with having this camera operator.
Right.
And no, he didn't. I mean, if anything, it's like, well, I'm not watching this. This is a mess.
Right.
So, I've done plays. Now music. I like doing music. If I had my preference, I would direct concerts. Because, especially when you know the music, you can really go, you can cut fast, and I'm a drummer, so I'm a musician. So when I'm directing music, I actually consider myself as part of the band.
Wow.
So when it's going fast, I cut fast, and then it'll come to a point. I say, okay, and then I'll dissolve here to kind of, okay, let's slow everybody down a little bit now. Okay, now it's going to build up again. I start cutting fast, and when I first started doing multi-camera, I thought these directors were cutting fast, at the time. So I learned how to cut fast. Then I discovered they were ISOing all the cameras and doing it all in post.
Oh.
But I could do it
Okay.
because I'd done it for years. I could do it, on the fly. And when I was working at the church, we got a call. Like we cut reaction shots. And we got a call, and they asked, well, do you cut your reaction shots live or in post? And I'm like, well, live. Everybody does it live, which I didn't know.
Right.
But my style, I get creative when it lends itself to it. But when it's, okay, like if I was teaching your class, if I was videotaping your class, I would take some wide shots, take tighter shots. If it was just going to be you and you didn't want any reaction shots, it would be you. And I say, okay, now, and maybe in post, if we couldn't do it live, is, okay, let's put some graphics up. And that's how you kind of keep people interested. But again, now that's my creativity as far as, videotaping your class. But it's not, well, I'm going to do a half dissolve. I'm going to do a half dissolve of you, and I'm going to have the camera tilt down and bring you in. Because now you're getting away from subject.
Yeah.
You're telling people, look at what I'm doing instead of what you're doing.
Yes. One thing you said to me, and I actually totally agree, and I take that philosophy, is anytime you're shooting, especially for like a service and or a message, and if it takes you out of what's going on, then it was a messed up shot.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, for example, if you're watching, the bishop minister, and you're watching it, if he does a demonstration, you may cut to camera one.
Right, that's the head to toe, yeah.
Right, and if you, maybe if he brings someone up, then you cut the camera 5 to wide shot. And then, but if there's no reason to cut to a wide shot, then don't cut to the wide shot.
Yeah.
Because if he's saying something really intense,
right,
or really where you need to draw your attention to, don't cut to a wide shot. Don't even cut to a head to toe, because he's trying to bring you in.
Yeah.
And by a simple shot, I've even seen that too, where if they cut to a shot that had no meaning, no purpose, it takes you out of what he was saying. And then you start noticing the shot. Once you notice the shot, then you've lost.
And see, and people talk, you and I talking now. We're talking more than just using words. We're talking with our eyes, we're talking with our faces, our hands. And so, and when somebody's really making a point, and I've had this happen a lot, they'll be making a point, and I'll be really focusing. and then they'll cut to a wide shot, and it's almost like it pulls me out.
Puts you out, yeah.
And if you think about movies and TV shows,
Same thing.
you got to think about when it's a real intense scene. They don't come to this nice sweeping boom shot, you know. Now they'll do a dolly, maybe they'll do it, and in the dolly move is actually coming closer.
Closer, yeah.
You know.
They're not pulling it out.
Right,
They
right.
pulling it, they pushing it in. Yeah, exactly.
But I have learned more. Like you mentioned, the whys, why, and I learned more about why. Why do you want to do a zoom in? What I should ask people: is a zoom an effect or is it a tool?
Right.
And it's a tool because zooms, you zoom in, you're drawing people's focus. Zoom out, you're revealing more.
Yeah.
Or you come into a close or finale, which still, you know. But you know, for me, and I'm going to ask you this. For me, when I got into production, I didn't tell anybody what I did because it was so much fun. So when people ask, "What do you do for a living?" I said, "I just work."
Oh wow.
Because I figured they would find out how much fun I was having and want to do it. So now, what is it?
You didn't want them to.
No, I didn't want them to possibly get a job that I could get. So what is it for you? You know, how's that for you?
I mean, I think for me it's more of a humbling thing because, you know, there's so much prestige with being a professor, you know, and I'm a full-time professor to the point where it keeps me busy because a lot of people, but you know, as a professor, just like you said, people think that when you're a professor, you can like, oh, okay, well, you don't have class 24 hours a day, then you can take a break.
No, you can't.
But no, I'm studying. I'm going over my lesson plan if I have to, or I'm reading 30 papers. But so for me, it was really about just being able to understand. So what was the question again?
Well, no, well, you know what? But you sparked another question. Do you have to know more than your students?
I would say, well, okay, I would say yes. Obviously, yes. However, my students don't have to think the same as me. So I have to know more than my students, but my students don't have to think the same.
Well, what do you have to do to make sure you know? Because, just what do you have to do to make sure you know more than they do? Because you don't know who's coming into your class.
I would say that I had to be prepared. I have to make sure that I know. I had to know the latest. I had to be up on the maybe latest trends, the latest forms of teaching. And obviously it's a learning process for me as well. So I'm not going to, as I mentioned before, I'm not going to be someone that says, I know everything, I know it all. But it's about growing. And you're right, you actually bring up a good point. What if I do get a student that, in fact, I remember one time I was teaching a student, so when I was at Macomb Community College, one of the classes that I taught was a radio class. I taught radio classes as well, radio and announcing courses. And one of the classes that I was teaching was a radio class, radio production. And then I had a student who was taking the class, maybe he needed for a credit, but he was actually working for was it WLLZ? It was one of those rock stations.
Okay, yeah, WABX or one of those. Yeah.
And he actually was working for the radio station. And so he was taking my class, and here I am teaching. And I've never, I know radio, but I've never worked for a radio station. So in that sense, he's taking a class, and he probably does know more about radio than I do. Yeah. You know, I know the structure of it and the understanding of it, but he could have come in and taught the class. Yeah. But at the same time, it is about being humble and understanding that you don't know everything. Obviously, your job as a professor is to teach the students what you know, but at the same time, I even tell my students this because I used to, on my syllabus, I used to put this 4 quadrants where there's learning is really about 4 different areas. One area is the professor teaches. The other area is the student receives. Then there's one area where the student and professor are interacting. That's the third. And then the fourth is actually the student and student interaction.
Yeah.
Because, and I even tell my students this, you learn from each other. So even in my film class, where my film and society class, if we're talking about, okay, Casablanca. And a lot of people, when they think of Casablanca, they think of it as a love story. But a lot of people don't think of it as a propaganda World War II film.
Yeah.
And so if you're talking to a student or you're talking to a class and you're trying to get the student to realize that this was maybe the one scene that really represented the Pearl Harbor Day or the Pearl Harbor scene. You know, one student says that, well, it was this. And maybe I was thinking in my mind that it was maybe this scene.
Right.
And then the student gives me his or her perspective of, no, it was this scene. I'm open enough to say, wow, maybe it was that scene.
Yeah.
You know, so it is a learning process for the professor too.
Yeah.
And so I like your question where you would hope that that as a professor that you know enough or you know more than the student. But there are certain cases where the student might know more and you need to be humble enough to say, okay, maybe I don't know everything, but I can learn from this student.
Well, let me ask you this now, as a professor, whether it's filmmaker, professor, filmmaker, you teach the class. So now how much of what you teach or what you know do you apply in your films when you direct?
Oh yeah, everything. You know, because I'm teaching what I know. I'm teaching what I do. Which could be different than what another professor does.
Yeah.
Or another professor knows. So, I mean, that's, especially for college, that's what professors do. They teach what they know and they teach what they do.
Okay.
And so I might have a different style than another professor, and he or she might teach the class a totally different way, and that's totally fine because that's how they know to teach it.
Okay. Well, Anthony, I tell you, this has been a good conversation. We have never talked this way before. We usually talk about movies. I'll tell you what I don't like or whatever, stuff like that. But it's kind of, it's nice to have a deeper insight into, what we do or what we think and that kind of thing. But I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
Again, I'd like to point out to people who are watching, if you're interested in coming on and have a conversation, you can reach out to me on Facebook at EMERJ TV. That's EMERJ space TV. It'll take you to my page. You can leave a message there. You can reach out to me by email, emerj.tv@gmail.com, emerj.tv. Or if there's somebody who just wants to watch it and they don't have Facebook, and a lot of people, they don't, go to any browser, type in emerj.tv. It'll take them to my page on Facebook, and they can watch any of these podcasts. Anthony, again, thank you for coming on. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. Join us next time for more discussions on all things production. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.